WMAL. Do you remember this audio?
We need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. Peacefully. Fed.
That was January 5th, 2021, the day before the incursion at the Capitol, January 6, 2021, when Ray Epps, caught on that tape, was yelling that people needed to go into the Capitol tomorrow. Into the Capitol. The crowd starts chanting, Fed. The following day, here's Ray Epps again.
As soon as President Trump is finished speaking, we are going to the Capitol. It's that direction. That's where our true problems lie. President Trump is done speaking. We are going to the Capitol. That's where our problems are. Okay, folks, we need your help. As soon as President Trump stops speaking, we are going to the Capitol. The Capitol is in that direction. Let people know. Spread the word.
So Ray Epps caught on camera multiple times inciting people to go to and into the Capitol building over the course of those 48 hours. But then what happened? Well, not much. He was listed for a time as one of the people that the FBI wanted in connection with the events of January 6th, but then mysteriously, his name and picture disappeared from the FBI website. That, of course, all added up to people being very skeptical of what it was that Ray Epps was even doing over the course of those 2 days, why he was captured on camera, being one of the only people who was actually inciting an incursion of the Capitol and facing no consequences when you had people who were charged, convicted, and sentenced for very long periods of time. Well, today, an update to this saga, this bizarre saga. Ray Epps, in the words of the New York Times, target of January 6th conspiracy theory, charged in Capitol attack. They say he was charged today with a single count of disorderly conduct for his role in the attack on the Capitol. In a bare-bones charging document filed in federal district court in Washington, prosecutors accused Mr. Epps of disrupting the orderly conduct of government business by entering a restricted area on the Capitol grounds on January 6th. For more on what all of this means, I want to bring in Julie Kelly, because no one's followed it more closely. She's the author of Declassified by Julie Kelly Substack and is on the phone now. Julie, good to have you with us, as always.
Hey, Vince. Always happy to be on. Thank you.
Okay, so Ray Epps gets a disorderly conduct charge all these years later. I can't help but notice that Enrique Tarrio, a man who was not in Washington, D.C., is now going to be doing 22 years in jail for seditious conspiracy, obstructing Congress, obstructing law enforcement, multiple counts of conspiracy, and also terrorism. They gave him a terrorism enhancement on his sentencing. Do I have that right?
You do. You absolutely do. And not only that, his three co-defendants also were convicted of seditious conspiracy, and Judge Tim Kelly added terror enhancements to their sentences as well. Enrique Tarrio did nothing even close to what Ray Epps did on January 5th and 6th. Yet here he is with not even a slap on the wrist, a slap on the pinky, a slap on his vest. I don't even know what you would prefer this as, but it certainly is not going to make questions and doubt about his involvement and who he was working on behalf of.
Yes.
Certainly not going to make those questions go away.
So I've noticed that lefties in the media today are making it's a very black and white case to them. They think, okay, this demonstrates that he was never working with the federal government in any capacity, that the people chanting Fed at him on January 5th were completely wrong, and that what this is just a guy who was cooperating with law enforcement, and now they're going easy on him because he was so helpful to the federal government. Does that pass the smell test to you?
It doesn't. And keep in mind, too, as you know, Vince, that Ray Epps' photograph has been featured on the FBI's J6 Most Wanted poster. It's pinned to the FBI's social media account. And now that we have more video, and there's more video actually released in the Proud Boys trial that shows Ray Epps' movement on the western side of the Capitol, Ray Epps was involved in the very first exterior breach point. He is the man who whispered in the ear of Ryan Samsel, who then turned his MAGA hat around and helped to knock over the first set of bike racks on that side. He jogged up those steps by Peace Circle, joined by Proud Boys and people like Ryan Samsel. He went on the restricted grounds. He was there for an hour and a half. You can see him in other video clips, one that was just released this week by Stephen Horn, the journalist who was convicted on 4 misdemeanors, showing him sort of interfering with law enforcement. How he got away with those charges, not to mention obstruction of an official proceeding, the common felony that more than 300 January 6th defendants face, how he got away with all of that and the slap on the wrist, why? I mean, I can't explain it except that he is an asset in some capacity.
Now, I can't help but constantly make comparisons here to Enrique Tarrio because it seems relevant to me. You know, Enrique Tarrio was the leader of the Proud Boys. And again, serving 22 years in jail now for the events of January 6th. He was not in the United States Capitol. Meanwhile, Ray Epps was actually a chapter president for the Oath Keepers and was in the Capitol encouraging people to go into the Capitol building. And he ends up with 1 count of disorderly conduct. Nothing. As you said, a slap on the pinky. The comparisons here, I think, are really revealing.
They are, and especially considering the conspiracy angle that so many J6ers, including Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys, other members of the Oath Keepers face. Why was Ray Epps, who coordinated travel with his son, who was there at that breach point, who whispered in Ryan Samsel's ear, who was near other members of the Proud Boys, who was clearly talking to people, many people on the west side of the grounds. The burden of proof for conspiracy is basically non-existent. The DOJ could have easily made a conspiracy or conspiracy to obstruct case against Ray Epps. They chose not to. The timing of this also is very interesting. Ryan Samsel, the man who Ray Epps whispered in his ear before he knocked over those first bike racks, he has been in custody since January of 2021. The feds have moved him around from prison to prison. He finally is scheduled to go to trial next month. I have no doubt that his defense attorneys are not planning to call Ray Epps as a defense witness and testify under oath what he said to Ryan Samsel. Ryan Samsel told me he changed his story. He said that Ray Epps said to him, "Don't worry, we've got more people coming." Originally, Ray Epps and Ryan Samsel said that Epps said, calm down, these are the police, they're just trying to help us. So Ray Epps would be forced to testify under oath. I'm not sure, Vince, how this 1 count, and I guess he's going to plead guilty to this tomorrow, which is a very, very quick adjudication of this matter, how that will factor into Ryan Samsel's trial. Also, this could be intended to bolster his defamation lawsuit against Fox, saying, hey, look, Tucker Carlson and others lied about me. Here I am, convicted of a misdemeanor, and I pleaded guilty. And, I'm going to go to jail for 14 days or something crazy.
So what you're suggesting is, sorry, just to be clear. So you're suggesting that maybe, the Justice Department, Tucker is not, Tucker is clearly a target of the Biden administration. There was an example of that. Remember, the White House pressured Facebook to censor Tucker's videos on their platform. They actually diminished the ability for people to see his videos on COVID because of White House pressure. So this wouldn't be the first time. Are you suggesting that the Justice Department may have a hand yet again in trying to, build a case against Tucker here?
Of course. And just to make clear, Tucker Carlson is not named as a defendant. It is Fox News. But some of Tucker's segments certainly are included in the defamation lawsuit. But of course, this DOJ is in cahoots with the media and in cahoots probably with Ray Epps and his attorney to help bolster that bogus defamation lawsuit. So that lawsuit's not going anywhere. So we'll see what happens with this plea deal. But more importantly, I'm going to cover what's happening in Ryan Samsel's trial, because that might be the most revelatory in terms of what this low-level single charge is all about.
Interesting. So is this a Matthew Graves prosecution indictment today, this disorderly conduct charge?
Yes, it is. The U.S. Attorney for District of Columbia, Matthew Graves. Yes.
Okay, so tell me what you think of I've been reading a lot of your coverage of Matthew Graves. Excellent work. And, I don't think people really appreciate who this person is to the extent that they should, because first of all, he is a Biden donor. That's obvious. Anybody could look that up on the Federal Elections Commission. You can see that Matthew Graves donated to Joe Biden's presidential campaign. He was rewarded with a seat as a U.S. attorney now for the District of Columbia. He's used it to go after Joe Biden's political opponents to the tune of thousands of people that he has prosecuted. He brags about that very fact. Also, his household, I don't know how wealthy they are, but his wife has been an important part of Democratic politics for many years. In fact, she runs a left-wing legal organization designed to advance abortions. And simultaneously, I know also courtesy of your reporting, Julie, that she's been a regular visitor at the Biden White House. She's there like all the time. What's going on with this Graves household?
Right. So Matthew Graves is married to a woman named Fatima Goss Graves. She is the president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center, a $100 million nonprofit that promotes any number of radical causes, including unrestricted abortion on demand, LGBTQ rights, and reforming the Supreme Court. She has been one of the key players in trying to remove Clarence Thomas from the Supreme Court. And so, yes, she has been, as I scoured the White House visitor log, she's been there roughly 30 times since her husband was confirmed as U.S. Attorney for D.C. She was just there last week, Vince. They're not even trying to hide it. She was at a roundtable with key top White House officials talking about economic issues for Black women. And so this is this power couple in Washington, D.C., helping not only to advance the Biden White House agenda to target Trump supporters and conservatives, but as you know, Matthew Graves is also the U.S. Attorney who declined to bring tax charges against Hunter Biden. That happened in March of 2022. Coincidentally, his wife visited the White House 5 times that month that her husband declined to bring charges against Hunter Biden for his tax crimes in 2014 and 2015.
Yeah, and meanwhile, he's also not prosecuting actual street crime in D.C. 67% of all arrests last year turned down from prosecution by Matthew Graves, the man who's responsible for actually prosecuting those crimes. So he allows D.C. to become more hellish, and he attacks Trump supporters with every waking breath. And it seems like the whole vibe in his household is we've got to destroy our political opponents at all costs.
Yes, and just yesterday announced the conviction of 3 pro-life activists, including 2 women in their 70s. This brings to a total more than a dozen, I believe, pro-life protesters who were involved in events. This dates back to October of 2020.
Yeah.
These charges brought by Matthew Graves, not only have they been convicted by a D.C. jury, they were taken into immediate custody by the Clinton-appointed judge there. They are now languishing in D.C. jail, awaiting final sentencing where they could be sentenced to up to 11 years in prison.
Yeah, look, Republicans are apparently debating our budget right now. If they cared about our country, they would defund a tyrant like Matthew Graves. That would be a good start. Like right away.
Agreed.
Julie Kelly, thank you as always for all of your excellent coverage. I genuinely appreciate our conversations. Thank you.